Over 2 millennia ago, in the cradle of civilization, ancient Rome was a city just beginning its journey to greatness, where the fate of a future empire was forged on the battlefield. Few, however, realized that in its nascent stages, Roman forces lacked permanence. Even this magnificent power, which left an indelible mark on human history, did not immediately assume its definitive form. Initially, the Roman army was more of a temporary force, assembled only when military necessity demanded. How, then, did this collection of hastily assembled recruits transform into an indomitable war machine that struck fear into its enemies? The secret to their triumph lay not merely in brute physical strength, but in rigorous discipline, meticulously planned strategy, and a clear system that made the Roman legion the cornerstone of the empire. Yet, on its path to this pinnacle, Rome had to overcome internal strife, power struggles, and periods of chaos that nearly destroyed the army from within. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey into the very heart of Roman military history. We will trace how, over centuries, a casual formation evolved into the most formidable force of the ancient world. We will not only recount the triumphant ascent of the Roman army, but also reveal the internal challenges that almost led to its downfall. In its early days, Rome was a modest settlement nestled among the hills surrounding the river Tiber, far from possessing the grandeur of its future empire. During its first centuries, Rome's military organization was governed by an elective monarchy, where the ruler, chosen by the citizens, was primarily responsible for conducting warfare. The era of the Roman monarchy, spanning from the city's foundation in 753 BC to 509 BC, played a crucial role in shaping the Roman army, even though a permanent military structure did not yet exist. The army of that period was a temporary force, formed only when necessary, particularly during invasions or periods of territorial expansion. The earliest Roman legions were not standing military formations. They were convened to defend the city or participate in military campaigns in nearby territories. The term legion, derived from the Latin word legio, meaning to gather or to choose, reflects this principle. Instead of maintaining a professional and permanent army, Rome assembled its citizens into military units as needs arose. In those times, the Romans had not yet developed a sophisticated system of a standing army. Their military strength was primarily a reaction to immediate threats. Rome's early armed forces were a unique phenomenon, far removed from the professional armies of later eras. It is crucial to emphasize that this was not a force composed of career soldiers, but rather a citizen militia, whose ranks Roman inhabitants joined only during periods of military conflict. The Roman king, acting as commander-in-chief, was responsible for leading these detachments, making strategic decisions regarding mobilization and the organization of the city's defense. The armed forces served primarily for protection, with their main task being to ensure the security of the nascent Roman state, rather than to conquer new lands. Despite these limitations, these initial military formations played a vital role in laying the foundation for future Roman military might. It was during those distant times, through clashes with neighboring tribes, that Rome began to forge the distinctive character of its legions, establishing the structural groundwork that would subsequently be refined over many centuries. As the borders of the Roman state expanded, so too did the needs of its army undergo a transformation. In the early years of the Republic, legions were still assembled only when required, but over time, warfare became commonplace, and threats to Rome's frontiers grew systematic. It was then, in the 4th century BC, that Rome took a pivotal step, transforming its army into a professional structure. Universal military conscription was introduced, fundamentally altering Rome's military organization. The Roman Republic made a revolutionary shift in its military strategy when army service became not merely a right, but a strict obligation for every Roman citizen who reached a certain age, regardless of their origin or land ownership. This innovation fundamentally changed the approach to army formation, transforming it from an assembly of volunteers into a powerful, standing military force. Rome secured an inexhaustible source of recruits, and its legions acquired an unprecedented level of organization and discipline. The system for training new recruits underwent significant changes. From then on, every recruit underwent an intensive training course, where they were taught complex combat techniques and tactical formations that became the hallmark of Roman victories. Compulsory military service opened the legion's doors to representatives from all strata of society, not just the elite. Thanks to their unity and coordinated actions, the legions transformed into a formidable force capable of crushing any adversary. Recruits became not merely soldiers, but vital links in a complex logistical network, ensuring the legions had everything necessary for prolonged campaigns. This system, though imperfect in its initial stages, gave Rome an enormous advantage. The Romans not only established a standing army, but also implemented a hierarchical and professional structure that was unprecedented in the ancient world. Within a few years, Rome transitioned from an army of ad hoc levies into one of the most powerful and effective war machines in history. Despite their renowned efficiency and impeccable organization, Roman legions were not immune to internal turmoil. As with any military structure, problems arose within the Roman army that could undermine its might. One of the most prevalent issues was desertion. Roman soldiers, despite rigorous training and discipline, sometimes struggled to endure the harsh realities of military life. Exhausting marches, arduous living conditions, and the tense atmosphere within the legions often drove many to flee the army. Untimely pay, or the failure of Roman authorities to fulfill their promises, also sowed disillusionment among the ranks. Another serious problem was mutiny within the legions. Although loyalty to Rome was considered a foundational value, not all soldiers were equally devoted to this ideal. Disagreements between soldiers and officers, and social tensions within the army, often led to internal conflicts. One of the most famous examples was the revolt of the legions during Emperor Tiberius's reign, when a portion of the troops mutinied over unfulfilled demands. Rome also had to contend with power struggles erupting within its own military formations. As the legions expanded and professionalized, ambitious officers sought to gain popularity among the soldiers to further their careers, fostering competition and tension within units. These internal disputes sometimes escalated into unrest, necessitating imperial intervention to restore order and discipline. Despite these challenges, Rome successfully overcame internal crises, maintaining strict discipline and high morale among its troops. Roman commanders, such as Julius Caesar, understood that army unity was paramount to success. They took measures to ensure soldier loyalty, for instance, increasing pay and guaranteeing legions rewards after victories. These internal problems, despite their complexity, became a crucial impetus for learning and adaptation, ultimately making the Roman legions even more formidable. The Roman legion was not merely a collection of soldiers, but a meticulously organized military structure. Each legion comprised various units, each tasked with specific duties. The efficiency of this organization was a key factor that enabled Rome to achieve victories against numerically superior and less organized armies. At the core of the legion lay a three-line infantry system: the hostati, principes, and triarii. During the zenith of the Roman Empire, the military might of the legions was organized with exceptional meticulousness, where each unit played its unique role. The hostati, principes, and triarii, these three echelons of Roman infantry represented the pinnacle of military strategy of their era. The deployment of these units on the battlefield was the result of profound deliberation, aimed at maximizing their combat effectiveness. The hostati, as the youngest and least experienced warriors, formed the front line of the Roman legion. Their equipment was lighter than that of their older comrades, but their youthful vigor and agility allowed them to engage quickly. Armed with short spears and large shields, the hostati were intended to deliver the initial blow to the enemy and then, if necessary, withdraw to make way for the subsequent echelons. Behind the hostati were the principes, more battle-hardened soldiers, equipped with superior gear and heavier weaponry, including throwing spears. The principes were the backbone of the Roman army, capable of enduring prolonged engagements and adapting to changing battlefield circumstances. Should the hostati withdraw, the principes would enter the fray, unleashing their full strength and resilience upon the enemy. In the rear of the legion were the triarii, veterans who had endured countless hardships, the most experienced and best prepared warriors. Their appearance in battle signaled a critical juncture, when the outcome of the engagement hung in the balance. Armed with long spears and large shields, the triarii formed a dense formation, ready to repel any assault. If the hostati and principes could not break the enemy's resistance, the triarii would enter the fray, their skills and steadfastness capable of turning the tide of battle. This three-line system not only enhanced the legion's combat effectiveness, but also allowed the Romans to conduct continuous and coordinated attacks, regardless of the battle's intensity. The flexibility and organization of the Roman legion were unprecedented for their time, and it was this structure that largely determined Rome's military successes, ensuring its dominance on the battlefield and, ultimately, control over a vast empire. During the flourishing era of the Roman Empire, when the might of its legions stretched from the shores of misty Britannia to the scorching sands of Africa, the military hierarchy underwent significant changes, reflecting the increasing complexity and scale of the army. The officer corps, which became the cornerstone of organization and the guarantee of victories, was one of the key elements ensuring the unparalleled combat effectiveness of Roman forces. In this military machine, where every cog played its part, officers skillfully leading their units were no less crucial than the valiant legionaries, who formed the army's bedrock. At the very base of this meticulously constructed hierarchical ladder were the centurions, pivotal figures on the battlefield whose role in securing victories was truly invaluable. Each centurion, commander of a centuria, a unit numbering around 600 warriors, embodied combat experience and discipline. Unlike many officers in other armies who gained their ranks through birthright or connections, centurions were, first and foremost, men of action who had endured the harsh school of life on the front lines. Often, they ascended the career ladder, beginning their journey as common soldiers, which allowed them to thoroughly learn all the intricacies of military affairs and understand the needs and morale of their subordinates. Despite their relatively modest position in the military hierarchy, centurions played a decisive role in ensuring the legion's combat readiness. In the heat of battle, it was they who directed the actions of their units, ensuring the strict execution of orders from higher command. In peacetime, centurions were responsible for soldier training, maintaining discipline, and organizing daily life in the camp. Known for their strict yet fair system of maintaining order, centurions ensured a high level of legionary readiness, transforming it into a formidable force capable of crushing any enemy. Within the Roman army, renowned for its strict discipline and effectiveness, there existed a clearly defined command hierarchy. Above the centurions, these battle-hardened commanders, stood the senior officers known as tribunes. These representatives of the Roman aristocracy, often young and ambitious, viewed service in the legions as a stepping stone in their political careers. And while not all tribunes could boast extensive combat experience, they played a pivotal role in organization, strategic planning, and maintaining ties with Rome's political elite. At the apex of this military pyramid was the legate, or legatus Augusti, the legion's commander-in-chief, a figure vested with immense prestige and authority. Appointed personally by the emperor, the legate was responsible not only for leading the legions into battle, but also for the overall supervision of military operations in the province under his control. Frequently, the legate combined military and civil authority, serving as the region's governor, which made him one of the most influential individuals both in the army and in Roman politics. This meticulously developed hierarchical structure, extending from centurions to legates, ensured that every legionary unit was led by experienced, responsible, and well-trained leaders. It was this, combined with superior soldier training and innovative tactical approaches, that rendered the Roman army one of the most formidable and effective forces in history, whose victories shaped the destinies of nations and the course of history. The key to Rome's military success lay not only in the number of its legions, but also in its capacity to execute advanced combat tactics. The military art of ancient Rome left an indelible mark on history thanks to its innovative tactics and strategies. Roman legions, a symbol of the empire's military might, were renowned for their impeccable organization and strategic prowess, which enabled them to achieve victories even against numerically superior armies. One of the most recognizable tactics of the Roman legions was the testudo, or tortoise, formation. This defensive maneuver was primarily employed when Roman troops faced intense barrages of arrows or stones. Soldiers arranged themselves in tight ranks, shoulder to shoulder, with their shields forming an impenetrable wall, protecting them from all sides. The testudo not only provided robust defense against enemy fire, but also allowed the legionaries to maintain formation and advance, giving them a significant advantage on the battlefield. Another cornerstone of Roman military tactics was the use of maniples, units numbering approximately 120 men. Unlike traditional armies, which formed long, unwieldy lines, the Romans could swiftly move their maniples, adapting to the dynamically changing battlefield situation. Such flexibility allowed them to outflank the enemy, rapidly regroup forces, and respond to unforeseen threats, which often confounded opposing armies. Rome's military triumphs were largely determined by their outstanding discipline, high level of organization, and ability to adapt to various combat conditions. Every Roman warrior, whether a recruit or a seasoned veteran, was clearly aware of their role and tasks on the battlefield. Their battle formations and strategies were meticulously developed to maximize damage inflicted upon the enemy and minimize their own losses. The Roman army was renowned for its thorough preparations for every battle. Legions not only underwent intensive physical training but also learned to rapidly construct fortifications and effectively use siege engines such as catapults and ballistas. Before a decisive engagement, Roman legionaries could swiftly build a fortified camp, which afforded them a significant strategic advantage, allowing them to remain secure and meticulously plan their subsequent moves. However, Roman military strategy was not limited solely to combat operations. The Romans attached immense importance to logistics and the supply of their troops. They perfectly understood that a legion could not fight effectively without a constant provision of food, water, and essential equipment. Therefore, legions always carried sufficient provisions and ensured the reliable protection of their supply routes. This enabled them to conduct prolonged military campaigns successfully, maintaining combat effectiveness, while other armies quickly lost strength and suffered defeats. Ultimately, it was the combination of strict discipline, superb organization, and the ability to adapt to any conditions that made Roman combat tactics so effective. Meticulous preparation and masterful command of military strategy played a decisive role in transforming Rome into the dominant empire of antiquity. Alongside the valiant legionaries, the officer corps played an indispensable role in the organization and triumphs of the Roman military system. These commanders were not confined to leading in battles. They also exerted significant influence on the political life and administrative structure of the Roman Empire. At the pinnacle of this intricate hierarchy was the legionary legate, a high-ranking officer personally appointed by the emperor. The legate commanded the legion in battles, and was also responsible for conducting military operations in the province where it was stationed. This demanding position combined military and civil functions, vesting the legate with immense authority both in military campaigns and in the governance of the territories under his control. Another representative of the senior command in the legion was the tribunus Latoclavius, a member of the Roman Senate. Typically lacking substantial military experience, he was intended to oversee the legion's activities from a broader strategic and political perspective. This position served as an excellent opportunity for young Roman aristocrats aspiring to political careers, combining Rome's military might with its political influence. During Rome's era of grandeur, the Tribunus Angusta Clavius, despite his more modest origins, held an honorable place in the military hierarchy. Hailing from lower social strata, these officers typically possessed extensive experience in cavalry or specialized troops. Their role within the legion was more technical and tactical. They closely monitored troop movements in the thick of battle and ensured the strict execution of orders from higher command. No less significant was the praefectus castrorum, or camp prefect, whose duties included not only overseeing the daily life of the legion, but also the construction and maintenance of military camps. These fortifications, erected with astonishing speed even after bloody battles, were an integral part of Roman military strategy. Camp prefects, therefore, played a crucial role in ensuring the army's readiness for new challenges. Despite the diversity of their duties, all these officers shared one important quality: the ability to effectively lead and manage Roman legions in both wartime and peacetime. Senior officers, being pivotal figures in maintaining the cohesion of Roman forces, ensured their effectiveness not only on the battlefield but also in daily life, thereby contributing to the strengthening of Rome's military might. In magnificent Rome, military service was not merely a duty incumbent upon its citizens, but also an honorable privilege that opened up new opportunities. For Romans, defending their homeland within the army's ranks became a chance not only to demonstrate their patriotism, but also to significantly improve their social standing and financial circumstances. Initially, the Roman army was dominated by members of the upper echelons of society, who formed the elite cavalry, while less affluent citizens filled the ranks of the infantry. However, with the introduction of universal military service, the situation fundamentally changed. Every Roman, regardless of their social status or wealth, was now obliged to serve, making the army more representative and diverse in its composition. Although Roman citizens formed the majority of soldiers, many came from poorer segments of the population, possessing neither land nor significant wealth. As the empire's borders expanded, Rome began to generously reward its soldiers with land grants and monetary stipends, offering them an opportunity for social advancement and prosperity. Upon completing their lengthy service, which typically lasted around 20 years, a soldier received a well-deserved discharge and a generous reward in the form of land or a pension. This astute policy not only strengthened the soldier's loyalty to the empire, but also contributed to its further expansion, as many veterans settled in the conquered territories, established new colonies, and consolidated Roman dominance, bringing their experience and culture to these new regions. Indeed, this system of incentives and benefits not only solidified the army's might but also played a pivotal role in consolidating Roman dominance in newly acquired territories. Soldiers endowed with landholdings became an integral part of Roman society, contributing not only to the expansion of its borders, but also to the very fabric of the empire's creation. Thus, military service in Rome opened doors to social mobility, wealth accumulation, and, in most cases, a secure life after service. This unique system significantly underpinned Rome's long-term success and strengthened the interconnectedness between the military and political elites in ancient Rome. Looking back and analyzing the evolution of the Roman legion, it becomes evident how a series of transformations, tactical innovations, and organizational structures elevated Rome to the position of one of history's most influential civilizations. The Roman legion was not merely a formidable army, but also a reflection of an organized, disciplined, and strategically minded society. Having progressed from a casual militia during the era of elective monarchy to a professional fighting machine, the Roman legion determined the future of the Roman Empire and bequeathed a legacy that served as a model for armies worldwide for centuries. The Roman legion, whose history spans centuries, stands as a vivid example of the military might and organization that enabled Rome to establish dominion over vast territories. Thanks to continuous evolution, which included adaptation to diverse combat conditions, stringent discipline, and innovative tactical approaches, the Roman legions became not merely a military force, but an instrument of territorial expansion, stretching from the shores of Britain to the fertile lands of Egypt. They not only safeguarded the empire's borders from external threats, but also actively contributed to its growth and the consolidation of Rome's status as a global superpower. The influence of the Roman legions on the course of military history and Western culture cannot be overstated. The principles of organization, strategic planning, and maintaining iron discipline developed within the Roman army continue to be studied and applied in modern armed forces. However, the legacy of the Roman army is not confined to military matters. It profoundly influenced the formation of social institutions, systems of state administration, and power structures, leaving an indelible mark on the history of civilization. Reflecting on the Roman legion today, we see not merely an army, but a symbol of imperial might, which, at its zenith, commanded much of the known world. It was a complex and well-oiled machine, providing not only military supremacy but also stability, order, and prosperity in the conquered territories.